second section of the 991 train. Got a 10-packer of the first cars after the motor. That's pretty cool. And Mark? I figured the majority. Mark was a good guy. He hung out with us a lot. Anytime I invited him to come to an op session on my way out, he said, sign me up. And Vicky was always welcome too. And this was an op session, I believe, in 17 or 18, where it actually fell on his birthday. He shared his birthday with Flag Day in June, early June. And I told my wife, which she's a very good baker and she decorates cookies on the side, as a hobby. I said, I need you to do me a favor. I said, Mark and Vicky are coming over, and it's Mark's birthday. I said, can you make him some special cookies? As you can see, she succeeded pretty well on that. He was over the moon about those. She put back a few for him in a plastic bag, and he took those home. This was back when Mark was in good health, before he realized he was starting to get sick. So we all had good times at this op station. Come over and they want to run on a crew together. It didn't take me long to separate them. He asked me if I did that on purpose, and I said, yeah. I said, Vicky's a good enough operator. She can tell somebody else what to do. I said, you need to learn how to do this on your own. We joke with each other quite a bit. The photograph up on the upper left, the good story about this one was, I somehow decided, somebody talked me into having an op-to drop session. I think we ran 4.5 hours this day and ran about 28 trains. But Mark said that he couldn't be there. I wanted to start at 1 o'clock. He said, I can't be there till 3. He said, I'm going to Oklahoma City to run a steam engine. I said, okay, no problem. Let's start the session at 3 for you, because I wanted him to be there because he loved operating on layout. So he shows up about 10 minutes before we start turning the wheels, dressed just like that, looks like he's got mascara on. He doesn't really stink, but you can tell he's been working. And I said, Vicky, I said, how come you're clean? She said, I cleaned up in the vehicle on the way over here. She said, but Mark refused to, and I apologize. I said, no apologies necessary. And I said, Mark, I said, what's your story? He said, I've been shoveling coal for the past 4 hours in the steam engine. He said, riding back for 2 hours with the only air conditioning I've had all day. And it was like 90 degrees that day. So he showed up at the op station covered in coal dust and stinking. He said, I would never wash coming here. He said, it makes me feel like I'm supposed to be here. So I teamed him up with my oldest son, and there's a running joke for us Santa Fe guys in the Tulsa, Kansas City area. Anytime you run something with a green locomotive on it, you gotta hold your nose, because there's sewer pickles. So there we go. And Mark had a lot to do with pushing that sewer pickle narrative. There's more of that. When Mark was starting to get sick, started getting cramps in his legs pretty bad. And his doctor told him, he said, you drink a lot of water and a lot of pickle juice. Mark did not like pickles, but he learned to love pickles. As you can see, he drank a lot of juice. One of his calling cards was anytime he went to somebody's op session or just to go hang out with them, he would stash one of his empty pickle juice bottles so you could see it. And story on the photograph on the left-hand side, he called me up. I've got a Facebook page just for my railroad and all the people that operate regularly. And we usually have Sewer Pickle Sunday. Somebody posts a picture of a Burlington Northern locomotive and makes some convoluted story, and we have a good time with it. There's 4 or 5 Burlington Northern fans that I have let on, and they get a little bit taken aback, but we don't care, we keep doing it. Anyway, Mark called me up on a Thursday or Friday. He said, I've got something special I'm going to post on Sunday. I said, well, if good enough where you call me and you're telling me about it ahead of time, it's going to be a good one. And that's what he posted right there. And he had this big long story on the post about how there's too many good Santa Fe modelers now, and he didn't think he could hang with the good Santa Fe modelers, so he was gonna overdose on pickle juice and become a Burlington Northern modeler. Of course, we all had a laugh. Within that next week time, people were sending me messages. Is Mark really going to quit modeling Santa Fe and modeling Burlington Northern? I said, you saw the post. I said, you know, he's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants to do. So I called him. I said, hey, you got a couple people going on this. I said, you might want to make a follow-up. He did not disappoint. But unbeknownst to me, he had went to an auction somewhere where somebody was selling all this green and black stuff for pennies on the dollar, 'cause that's about what it's worth. He posted all this stuff. That probably took him 2 hours to set all that up. And he had Vicky take a picture of him. And he posted the next Sunday. He said, "You guys thought I weren't serious." No, we didn't think you were serious, but I mean, that caused a lot of people to question his sanity. But the true story was, he called me up and he said, "Hey, come by after work. I got a couple of totes for you." I said, "What do you got?" And he had most of that stuff loaded up in totes. He said, "Sell this on eBay for me, would you? I don't want it." I didn't want to mark it up either. So we did that together. So I did keep a couple of the pieces from my collection because they're too good to be true. So a couple weeks later, Mark let the cat out of the bag. He wasn't really doing that. And of course, since he posted that, I photoshopped him back on the back of a business card. So I said, "His blood only runs red." So I told him, I said, "Whatever you did there, you got into a meme." So we had a good long conversation about being meme-worthy. I said, "Mark, you're meme-worthy." So he was a little bit taken aback by that. He said, "I don't know why you took the time, that was foolish." But I like the picture. So deep down, he questioned my sanity, but he did like the photograph. You guys remember this, the ones that went to Kansas City. Mark was starting to get a little skinny then. I told him he was looking gaunt. And I said, "I still want to take your picture by the locomotive." So he said, "Absolutely." So that meant a lot to him because Mark did a little bit of behind the scenes help on this restoration. He had a lot of information back in the freedom training days. And he worked with the guys that preserved this. So he's pretty proud of that. Mark was quite the mechanic. He almost always traveled with some kind of a toolkit. Probably the second or third time he came to my layout and we had an off session. His train was in the hole waiting for hotter traffic. And I caught him over there working on some of my track. I said, "Mark, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm working on your track because there's a little rough spot right here." He had a little flat file. I said, "Where did you get that file?" 'Cause I knew that wasn't mine. He said, "Oh, I brought it." I said, "Okay." I said, "Mark, you came here to run trains and have fun." He said, "Oh, I wanted to make myself useful, so I went and fixed your track." I said, "Okay." So we're down in Comanche, Texas. We're on a 7.5 inch gauge railroad down there. And I know a couple guys down there. And of course, one of the times I called Mark, "Mark, you want to cross state lines with me? And where to and when? I'll put it on my calendar." He never said no. He always wanted to go because he knew when I had some convoluted idea to go travel and run trains, he wanted to be there. Because we almost always went out of our way to make sure we had a good time. But anyway, this particular instance, this was a 4-day weekend. And talked to the owner of this train and the Super Chief train. I talked him into getting up early on Saturday morning and going and doing a photo excursion with these two trains before other trains got out on the railroad and started getting in our way. So we get there at sunup and take off up the hill. They're leading the way, and of course, you got to carry radios. And I said, 111 to Super Chief, we're in the hole up here. We're going to be a minute. Watch out for us. So we pulled in behind them, and sure enough, they're stopping on the main. I walked up, and Danny said, "Man, this thing smells hot." He said, "I don't know what happened." It wasn't a minute and a half. Mark heard that. He opened a piggyback trailer. I didn't know he brought his toolkit, but he brought his toolkit up to the head end, popped the roof off that engine, started feeling around. He said, "Oh, this switch is hot and it's starting to melt." And Danny said, "I've got a spare." So he's sitting here making running repairs on this thing with his own tools. Danny just kicked back, because Danny said, "What's he doing?" I said, "Let him cook, he's fine. He's gonna fix it." 10 minutes, we were going. So he kind of saved the day, because this thing would be about 850 pounds of dead locomotive, because that main switch controls everything. For some reason it got hot and it melted the contacts. But Mark got it fixed, and he was a hero. Mark's like some of us other people. He's a big fan of the deep fried goodness from Allsup's. So he would always make a point when he was out traveling, he'd take a picture of Allsup's. He loved Hatch chilies. So I threw that picture in there. I don't know where the picture was taken. He just texted it to me one day, and it was in my file. All right, back to my meme-worthy This was another time that Mark, you went across state lines with us. Of course, where are we going? When? I put it on my calendar. We went up to Kansas City for an operations weekend. A couple of guys I know up there, we kind of do it back and forth, and they opened up their layouts for us, and stayed on a Friday night and got up early on a Saturday morning. And there were 7 or 8 of us, and we said, let's meet in the lobby at 7 o'clock for breakfast. Most of us were down there, and my oldest son and I, we noticed that night it was kind of cold in the room. We just bundled up. Well, the heater would come on eventually. Anyway, we get down to breakfast, and everybody's saying, man, I froze my butt off last night. And everybody said, it was cold in my room. And we figured out pretty soon that the heater was not functioning at full capacity. Anyway, Mark wasn't with us at that time because he said, I'll be down later, because he really wasn't eating a lot then, because he was doing cancer treatments. And I told those guys at that table, I said, I guarantee you by 10:30, Mark was trying to repair that thermostat with an improvised toolkit. And we all kind of laughed. Anyway, I see him coming. I froze my ass off last night, guys. What about you? I said, yeah, Mark, we were just talking about that. And he said, about 11 o'clock, I had that thermostat off the wall, and I was trying to fix it with my pin screwdriver. There's contacts in there, and I thought it was the thermostat. So when he said that, we all just fell out. I mean, of course, I caught him over there, and he put that on the Facebook page, downloading the wiring diagram for the thermostat. And he called me after I posted that. He said, why'd you take that picture of me? I said, well, Mark, we all laughed at your expense, and you said it was funny too, and I thought it was fine. He said, well, yeah, but truth be told, I was looking at the wiring diagram. He said, it was a standard Honeywell thermostat, but there were some contacts in there that were wired backwards, and I was trying to find out why they wired those backwards. So that's literally what he was doing before we left. So that was we all laughed about that and had a good time. Another instance, called a couple guys. You guys want to cross state lines and go play trains? When and where? Tell me. Put it on the calendar. So, a friend of ours out here in New Mexico, near Mountain there, he's got some land near the track, so he invited us out over spring break, and then we were going to go on up to Denver, Colorado for an op session up there on a layout. So I said, let's just make a couple of days out of it. I told the landowner, I said, you got some trees that we need to cut, so we'll help you cut the trees. So we went out there for several days and had a good time. Even though Mark Grumpy complained about shooting roaches on boxes, he got out there and shot roaches on boxes with us. That's what he called orange locomotives. Roaches on boxes. I heard that many times that week. We had a good time. And it was a little chilly around Mountain there, so we were good to have a fire. And poor Mark, he lost about 30 pounds. He's skinny as a rail, so he's always complaining about being cold. So he spent a lot of time by the fire. Mark and Vicky, they live about 6 or 7 miles down the road from where I work. So I'd make a point to call him up every once in a while and, hey, can I swing by after work and visit? Sure. And I got a lot of pictures of Mark. I got a lot of pictures of a lot of my friends, but that one right there, roaches on boxes. We heard a train. Yeah, I want to go see what's on the train. Mark, it's probably roaches on boxes. I don't care. He'd go out and make a point to wave at every train. His depot was right there by the tracks, and all the crews knew him, and they gave him the horn salute. That picture right there, it meant a lot, because he was starting to get pretty frail by that time, but I wanted to make sure to get a couple more pictures of him for my collection. And this is him and another icon I know up at Kansas City last year, giving his dry run of his presentation. Like I say, he's sitting there with all his notes and his laptop. You can't see his 3-ring binder that's got 7 pages of notes that he talked at length. Mark was the talker. So that's pretty much it. Like I say, Mark spent a lot of time around the fire, and I want to do my best to honor him for you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And like I say, hopefully I didn't go too fast or be too long-winded. So that's it for me. Thank you. Thank you. Can I get some group participation? Vicki wanted me to take a picture of you guys, so I'm going to take an all-room selfie. She specifically asked for me to ask you to be in it too. So I told her you were here, and she went 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Thank you, guys.
Sure, you're doing a great deal,
Thank you.
Sammy.